First is maybe it's useful to clarify the term developmental city and its concept, right? And what I mean by developmental city. The term developmental city was first coined by Manuel Castel in the late 80s to describe the model of development and city making in Singapore. That is to say that the city is used as first and foremost a developmental tool and an economic driver, and in which the main goal, above all else, is to attract investment, right? Whether it is local investment or external investment. The process of urbanization, therefore, that comes out of the developmental city is not one that is in response to a particular or present demand of housing, as you would define urbanism or the urbs in the turn of the 20th century, where urbanization was a direct reaction towards the housing of the proletariat, right? So there was a real demand for urbanization. So for the developmental city, the process of urbanization is completely speculative rather than reactive. So that is to say that the demand is manufactured, the demand is predicted. So in that sense, the way in which it affects the way in which architects or urban designers work is that we no longer design to an actual need that is present, but we begin to design possibilities, or we design what in the profession one would call place making or place promotion, to envision up a certain type of city or certain type of environment that becomes attractive for investment, right? Whether for investment to buy or investment to live. And let's say we were to apply it in Singapore, we see very clearly that the developmental city is also a political project. A political project that is inherently specific to each and every leadership that Singapore has undergone. So of course with the late Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew, the challenge was a more utilitarian city. The focus was the provision of housing at that time, and to make Singapore more attractive to the global economy. So the utilitarianism and the pragmatism also arose from the climate of survival of the 60s in Singapore, where of course Singapore, after its demerger with Malaysia, found itself in a very precarious state, and the mindset of Singapore having to survive under great stress and under great circumstances produced a certain city, and a certain architecture was highly pragmatic, right? But of course, nevertheless, there was a certain beauty in that pragmatism. The second phase, of course, in the 80s with Prime Minister Goh Chok Tong was, I would term as a period of leisureization of the city. There has to be a certain move towards a better life, a good life, as he termed it in his rally speech. And Singapore were to see itself, together with the announcement of the URA towards a city of tropical excellence, was to begin to reshape that so-called pragmatic or utilitarian city to one that is more green, that uses its beaches more, and so on and so forth, in which I term, in that sense, has leisureized the city. And you could again see the effects where most housing have great landscape, infiltrating all over the open spaces. Highways are planted with great green. The latest one we have seen with Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong was, of course, to look at the global city, right? And of course, one of the key set piece to that is the development of the Marina Bay, right? The insertion of the Marina Bay Sands, the belief that certain high quality architectural gems or icons are able to put Singapore on the architectural or the design map of the world, and in which it has, with Moshe Safdie's Marina Bay Sands and the Sky Park. So you could see that within each phase of political leadership, the developmental city, and in that sense the making of the city, right, its image as well as its mode of development, is quintessential to the way in which the economy is evolving.